Nobody's linked her address. Shut the fuck up.
Nothing about.
If Caitlin Clark doesn't step on that floor, you are not playing another single second either. Those were the exact, unhinged words that just echoed through the locker room corridors as Sophie Cunningham completely lost her mind. The WNBA is officially burning down to the ground today, and what started as a brutal, dangerous throat punch on the court has just escalated into a full-scale physical threat behind closed doors. For the first time since slamming her closed fist straight into Caitlin Clark's neck, Alyssa Thomas finally walked out to face the media. But instead of showing remorse, instead of apologizing for a cheap shot that the league retroactively had to upgrade to a severe flagrant 2 foul, Thomas stood in front of the microphones and started spewing absolute, venomous lies. She literally tried to gaslight the entire world, claiming it was just a common basketball play, that there was zero malicious intent, and that Clark was simply making a scene to get the whistle. But here is the breaking news that just turned this dramatic situation into absolute warfare. Just hours after Thomas finished her press conference, a leaked medical report from the Indiana Fever training facility confirmed everyone's worst nightmare. Caitlin Clark has officially been pulled out of full practice with a severe, agonizing back injury. The footage doesn't lie. During that exact sequence where Thomas delivered the devastating blow, Clark twisted her spine while crashing down, tweaking a nagging, dangerous back issue that has now forced team doctors to step in and shut her down indefinitely. She is hurting, she is sidelined, and yet the mainstream media and Alyssa Thomas are still actively trashing her name. And that is the exact millisecond where Sophie Cunningham completely snapped. Witnesses inside the building claim Sophie was so emotionally overwhelmed and furious. Security guards had to physically hold her back from invading the Phoenix media room. Sophie went live on air, completely out of control, and utterly destroyed Alyssa Thomas in front of millions of viewers. She yelled into the microphones, calling Thomas an absolute disgrace to the sport, screaming that you cannot hunt down a generational superstar, put her in the hospital, and then have the audacity to talk trash during a public speech. Sophie's warning was clear, dangerous, and completely unprecedented. If the league office refuses to protect the golden goose of women's basketball, the players will take matters into their own hands. She looked directly into the lens of the camera and sent a chilling, direct message to Thomas, stating that if Clark's back injury keeps her out of the next game, she will personally make sure Thomas never sees the court
I'm in Texas. Why would I know? I mean, I'm asking a question. So, guys, I keep telling you guys, you don't hate the media enough. Sophie Cunningham just kept it real about the Phoenix Mercury organization.
You know what? Some people feel that.
Wow. Wow. People that work for the Mercury, Grant Young posted this. I'm going to give him a shout out. Blind squirrel finds nut. People inside the Mercury organization can't stand this team. Rude. Unprofessional. Not friendly.
Think about the sheer insanity of what is happening behind the scenes right now. For months, the tension inside the WNBA has been building like a ticking time bomb. Every single night, Caitlin Clark steps onto the hardwood only to be shoved, targeted, scratched, and physically assaulted by veterans who seem to operate under a completely different rulebook. When fans complained on social media, the media called them sensitive. When analysts pointed out the dangerous patterns on national television, the league office issued generic, empty statements about the physical nature of professional basketball. But tonight, the narrative has flipped permanently. Alyssa Thomas thought she could walk into a press conference, play the victim, and pretend that hitting a rookie in the neck is just regular defense. She thought the world would just nod along with her lies. But she completely underestimated the pure rage of Sophie Cunningham. The legal and financial fallout from this media explosion is already beginning to fracture the league.
That would mean so much to me. Quote, just the whole narrative that's being painted out there. It's unfortunate that it's come to this over basketball.
I'm crazy. The playing the game, being suspended, just the whole narrative that's being painted out there. It's unfortunate that it's come to this over basketball. a lot of us, myself included, didn't even know the play took place until after, the game. And, now we're being painted as thugs and there's death threats out on us. So it's really unacceptable. It's something that needs to change in this league, and I'm just really sick and tired of it.
You are a thug, Alyssa Thomas. You're a thug. You're a dirty player. You're a nasty individual. You put a fist in Caitlin Clark's throat and a knee in her groin, and you're going to act like, oh, I didn't even know that took place. I didn't even know that happened, as I'm diving onto her and using my fist as an arm cushion to get up. Oh, I didn't even know that happened. Oh my gosh. The narrative that you're...
Behind closed doors in the front office, it is absolute unmitigated chaos. Emergency board meetings are being called at midnight, phones are ringing off the hook, and high-priced corporate lawyers are frantically trying to figure out how to handle the massive public relations nightmare. Corporate sponsors are panicking because this locker room war is no longer a standard athletic rivalry. It has spilled over into real, unscripted verbal violence and physical threats. Brands that poured millions of dollars into the WNBA this season are already threatening to pull their funding if immediate, drastic disciplinary action isn't taken against everyone involved. Now, look closely at the medical reality facing the Indiana Fever. A severe back injury for a guard who relies on speed, rapid change of direction, and elite shooting mechanics is not something you can just ignore. The medical staff knows that if they rush Caitlin Clark back to the floor too early, just to satisfy television ratings, they risk permanently damaging the career of the most lucrative asset the sport has ever seen. The fans are terrified. The ticket prices for the upcoming games are already plummeting on the secondary market, and the league is realizing that without Clark on the floor, their entire stadium expansion plan collapses into dust. Yet, instead of showing concern, Thomas used her platform to downplay the severity, mock the injury, and paint herself as the one being unfairly targeted by public scrutiny. Sophie Cunningham drawing a line in the sand changes everything we know about player dynamics in this league. She didn't just speak as an individual. She spoke for every single person who is sick and tired of watching malicious cheap shots go unpunished. Sophie's emotional breakdown on live television was raw, unfiltered, and dangerous. By openly threatening to make sure Thomas doesn't play if Clark is sidelined, she has introduced a level of frontier justice to the WNBA. The Players' Union is currently in total silence, paralyzed by the realization that locker room stability has been completely shattered. Right now, the WNBA is in total, irreversible meltdown. The pressure on the commissioner to issue a multi-game suspension to Alyssa Thomas for her media comments and her original foul is reaching a breaking point. This is no longer about a bad game or an aggressive foul. This is about the criminal survival of the entire sport's integrity, and the truth is finally too loud for the executives to hide. The next 24 hours will completely reshape the future of the league. We need to hear from the real basketball community right now. Was Sophie Cunningham completely justified for threatening Alyssa Thomas to protect Caitlin Clark from these malicious attacks? Or did her emotional breakdown on air take things entirely too far? This is the exact moment where the fans have to take control of the narrative and force the league office to act. Drop your honest, unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. If you stand with Sophie Cunningham for finally standing up against the corruption and cheap shots, smash that like button right now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications, because the unedited audio of Sophie's locker room confrontation is leaking next, and you cannot afford to miss a single second. Stay tuned, because this war is far from over.